Hello and welcome to Amrita Teens on YouTube, where we dive into the world of poetry and explore the art of self-expression. We are lucky to have Girish with us, a poet at heart with a master's in counseling psychology and a bachelor's in English literature, even though English was his least favorite subject. With 50 years of poetry experience, Girish will guide us through the magic of poetry in our new video series, Teens for Poetry. Let's dive in.
To feel like one has connected with another in all that space and time, there's probably nothing quite like that.
So for you, the most important thing is with a poem that you connect hearts, people, and souls with each other. Can I summarize it like that?
You certainly could. It felt like the freedom to write whatever I wanted, however I wanted.
So it was a lot of exploring your inner world?
Definitely. It has rhythm. If you look a little more closely, yet hold me in your arms like a heart.
Welcome, Girish. So let's start like this. Even though English was your last favorite subject, you now have 50 years of experience. How did that come?
Well, I had a gap in my class schedule, and so I plunked in creative writing.
But seriously, how did poetry spark your life?
Well, it felt like the freedom to write whatever I wanted, however I wanted. It was only later that I figured out all those years of the writing classes gave me the tools, so I knew what I was doing when I broke the rules. I guess the other part is I was always interested in philosophy, and it was a way to parse my thought and figure out how to proceed in the world by getting in touch with my feelings.
So it was a lot of self-exploring, exploring your inner world?
Definitely, yeah.
How many poems did you write so far?
Well, it's probably in the thousands at this point. So.
How has poetry changed your life?
Poetry changed my life. Well, other than meditation, which I'm very interested in, meditation and yoga, it's the only thing that I've discovered where I can have an image in my mind or a phrase, and I can sit down and start working on it at noon, and I look up and it's dark. I have no idea where the time went.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. So do you think that young adults or also adult kids, they can go on this journey also like you did? How can they embark on this journey?
Well, I think it's true for anyone, but I think particularly when one is a teenager, it can be a troubling time. And to just pick on a moment, select a moment that seems very powerful and try to work around it, work through it, can be, they say one should journal. And it's a way of journaling that doesn't just seem rote, but can be rhythmic as well, can be enhanced and embellished by poetry.
Okay. So what in your view is the purpose of poetry, of a poem?
The purpose, well, it can be a broad spectrum, and as deep as thoughts on eternity or death, and just to amuse and entertain.
With poetry, what we talked before also is you can tackle the toughest questions, like even what happens after death, right? You can explore life's mysteries and even reflect on friendships or love.
Love? Like roses are red and violets are blue?
Exactly.
And nowhere on earth exists a flower like you? Like that?
I'm blushing. Yes, like that. Have you ever written a love poem for someone dear?
As a matter of fact, I have. Of course, it was unrequited love, but allow me to share it with you.
Yes, please.
This poem is called The Luxury of Love. We never stop to question the true feeling behind the humming in our veins, never asking who is the observer of the bright chatter in our brains. Yet, hold me in your arms and tell me once again that you will always be there, that here I'll always stay.
Wow, that goes directly into the heart. It's like experiencing someone's innermost well, like their experience through your expression, right? So, what was the intention of this poem?
Well, it was to explore the concept of a soulmate. If you know anything about the Hindu family, Shiva has Parvati, Krishna has Radha, Rama has Sita, and why not
And Girish has?
unrequited love?
So, we have a couple of very, very famous couples here. So, poetry seems to be like a doorway for you. It's a way to explore those deep connections, and that's really beautiful. I have to say, I enjoy listening to your poetry. What I noticed was that this poem, it doesn't rhyme. This one.
However, it has rhythm. If you look a little more closely, the refrain, yet hold me in your arms and tell me once again that you will always be there, that here I'll always stay.
Yeah, that's
It's iambic, soft, hard, soft, hard, soft, hard, like a heartbeat. Bum, 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 bum.
okay. So I get it. So either a poem rhymes or it has a rhythm. Why are we making use of those elements in poetry?
Well, initially, things weren't written down. It was a way to remember, like the Mahabharata, the most famous poem in the world, and the oldest one, has over 100,000 couplets. And it has that rhythm and the rhyme at the end.
So this rhythm and rhyme, it helps people to memorize it?
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense. I like that. I like that a lot. And so speaking again about the doorways, it seems poetry can serve as a doorway to many things, like even generations. Like when you say we need to memorize, why do we need to memorize? Because we want to pass on information. So what is the function of a poem to communicate it to someone else so they can memorize it?
Well, you can look at nursery rhymes, for instance. A mother to her child in the crib goes, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above, the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. And the baby goes, oh, yes.
Yeah, I can feel that. Like it takes me back to childhood memory for sure. So this is a very simple and playful poem, right? And yeah, it could be passed on from generation to generation. And it really shows that poetry can be really lighthearted and joyful and also fun.
Right, you could entertain your friends like Ogden Nash did. I never saw a purple cow. I never hoped to see one. But I can tell you anyhow, I'd rather see than be one.
That's for sure. I would rather see a purple cow than see one. Yeah, that's amazing. So this is really an entertainment purpose.
Yes, it can definitely be that.
Wonderful. So beyond love letters, poems can be a way to share emotions, discuss difficult topics, or even say, I'm sorry.
Well, what you're making me think of, one summer I was experimenting with haiku, which is a Japanese form of 17 syllables. And I wrote one about a little boy lost in a garden. And I left it on the kitchen table. I was visiting my parents that summer. And I had gone outside and left it on the kitchen table. And my mother read it, and she came bursting out the screen door into the backyard in tears and said, Girish, I love you. So what can a poet hope for more than touching someone else like that and mending fences, perhaps?
Yeah, that I really can feel that. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Was there any other situation that a poem would help you in your life or with relationships?
Well, and then with my daughter, there was a coin jar, and she was 7, and she would make trails of pennies along the living room floor. For her birthday, her 8th birthday, I came up with this poetic idea of if I had a coin for every time I think of you, I'd be a very rich man. Wow. And she had that poem on her bedroom wall for years. So.
That's beautiful. Girish, what makes poetry so special?
Well, I think it allows one to connect with another. It's a very, very vast universe, and eternity is a long time. To feel like one has connected with another in all that space and time, there's probably nothing quite like that in the world.
So for you, the most important thing is with a poem that you connect hearts, people, and souls with each other. Can I summarize it like that?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So when I think about it, could I, for example, write a poem for my mother about my memory that she baked me the most amazing birthday cakes?
You certainly could.
So poetry is, on the one hand, discussing maybe difficult questions, tackling love, expressing emotions, but it can be really experiences of your daily life.
Yes. Yes, it doesn't have to be roses or red, violets or blue, but it can be all about you.
That's good. So I know someone else who really loves poetry, and this someone is Kaya. She just finished high school and will be our testimonial for the upcoming challenge. She already completed module 1 and tackled her own challenges with that. Let's see how she managed challenge number 1.
When I heard about the poetry challenge, I was curious. I was curious about what types of questions they would be asking and what poems they would be reading to us. Yeah. To me, poetry is a way that I can be alone with myself and really dive in deep and reflect on all the experiences I've had. And it's a way for me to write about the joys of life, what I find beautiful, but also what I find hard, And it's just a way to kind of process everything. This poem is about the feeling of missing someone and grief, yeah. Okay. When branches are torn, the sky rushes in. With every fall, the worms feast, and tears become wind. As rain goes above, everything here was once there. Isn't the death fuel for flowers the ultimate offering? I've used it as a way to kind of write about what it feels like to grow up, write about my memories from childhood, write about, people at school, and experiences at school, and also just kind of to have fun and be creative. I write it for myself at first, but I also sometimes share it with my friends. And in high school, me and my friends would get together and read our poetry to each other and just have a good time with it and be silly, but also use it as a way to be honest with each other. Yeah. This is a poem about dreams. And this is something I wrote kind of recently. And just thinking about, what it feels like to grow up and to dream and to look out into your future. Okay. Both the brick and the road, like the thread made of gold, only seen in the sun, try to hold on before they're done. Dreams come once, maybe twice, lighting the paths of our lives. I thought it was really good to have kind of a challenge around poetry, and I've never really had that. It's always kind of just been like a free-flowing thing. I think they should join it because it's a fun opportunity to have a teacher and a guide into poetry, whether you've never written poems before or you have and you want a new fun challenge. I think it's really interesting and creative, and it can help you, be silly, but also process, your emotions and things like that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kaya, for your insights. We are thrilled that you enjoyed the first module and that you're ready to take on the challenge with us. So, Girish, what's your main reason for encouraging Amrita teens to take on this poetry challenge?
I grew up without a television. My father thought what was on television, the programming was silly and the commercials were worse. Now, everyone carries a cell phone around with them that's a mini television. And much of that information, I feel, is not the best information that one could possibly imbibe. How much better might it be to have one's own thought and create around that something to share with a friend? I thought it was such an imposition when my father didn't allow me to have a television. And now I am so grateful because I write poetry at night instead of staring at a television or a cell phone.
Thank you for the beautiful reminder. Very true. Like, I catch myself scrolling through the phone. How much more could I use this time to create something useful, to explore my inner world? So thank you so much for this beautiful reminder. And thank you also for joining us and sharing your experience about poetry, about your passion. And to everyone watching, get ready for the poetry challenge. Your time is to shine now and share your unique voice. And thank you for tuning in to Teens for Poetry and Poetry for Teens. We can't wait to see the magic you create.